welcome to User Friendly Friends. My name is Erfon Elijah. I'm the founder of MyTees. I'm here with my friend
Roberto Hoyos.
We're back, episode 17. If you can believe it, I can't believe we're already on 17. User Friendly is a podcast that we do together to talk about our favorite technology, our favorite stuff on the web, and all things geek in general. How's it going, dude?
It's going good.
I have not seen you drink Red Bull in a while, I have to say. Because you used to drink those all the time, right?
I did, yeah. Now I just kind of like once in a while, but they trick you because they're like cheaper in pairs, so you're just like, we'll get two and keep one for later. And I don't know.
They are tricky.
They don't really give me energy, but I kind of still like the taste once in a while.
Have I ever told you my Red Bull story from Austria?
No. Oh, wait, kind of.
So, for those that don't know, this is actually really interesting. I went to Austria recently, and that's not the interesting part. And Red Bull is actually an Austrian country, or a company. And they're not a drink company. They are a media company. And they have a television channel, and they have all these sporting events that they do. And in the U.S., they're known for their Red Bull drinks, and I think that's how they started. It was this Austrian guy. He met this Japanese chemist who had this formula for this energy drink, and he bought it from him, and they started Red Bull, and now they're this giant media conglomerate, and they're huge in Austria. I mean, they're absolutely everywhere. They're like as ubiquitous as McDonald's is here.
That's crazy.
And here, it's like no one even knows who they are. They just are the people that sell these energy drinks.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because you go over there and you're like, oh, the energy drink company, and they're like, they sell energy drinks. But that's not what they are.
Yeah, that's like my friend was telling me in Japan. He was trying to order something like what was it called? It was like, do you know that movie Lost in Translation?
Yes.
And he's like, I think it was the drink that he says that, like the Centauri times or something like that.
Okay, Bill Murray's character.
Yeah, and then like he tried to order that, and he found out that it was, that it's like actually the whole company's name is that. So it's just like trying to order like I don't know, like a Coca-Cola company or something, like, you know, like I don't know,
like a Coca-Cola company, please.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Well, we've got a pretty good show planned.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just jump right into it, shall we?
Yes, sir.
I even made my notes here so I wouldn't forget what we were talking about. We're going to start off talking about something that you guys see every day that you probably never think of, and that is icons.
Mm-hmm.
So those little things that you click on, they're on your desktop, they're in your dock.
On your web, are you on your phone now?
Yeah, now they're on your phone.
These newfangled phones.
That's right. Top tier technology. And, I mean, arguably, you see them everywhere. I mean, they have them, you know, in places that you can't press them, like on signs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, the story is, this is yours, so...
Yeah, so this was on Hanselman.com, Scott Hanselman's Computer Zen.
Which I've never heard of.
Yeah, I kind of got referred to it from another source. But anyway, they're talking about how, basically... those icons that we use all the time, like the floppy disk is the save icon for most things, and it says and other old people icons that don't make sense anymore.
Right.
So it's like the floppy disk is one of them. Here, I'll hold it up to the camera.
Yeah, dude, let the user see.
So. Okay, so like the floppy disk is usually always the save icon, and it's like who uses a floppy anymore?
Right.
It's like very old. You can just click that, mute that. Thanks. And what else? Radio buttons. You know, like when's the last time you've seen those big buttons on a radio?
Why, those are the only type of radios I use.
And what else? Clipboards. I guess the clipboard's not that old-fashioned, but bookmarks are saying is like an old-fashioned thing, like an actual physical bookmark. Address book, calendars, arguably maybe. But the one that I think sticks out the most is like the voicemail icon on the iPhone is a little reel-to-reel.
Right.
So like that sort of thing. That's film. I don't know why they put that in there. Folders. And then, of course, everybody's phone icon on their phone has an old telephone, like an old GE telephone.
That's right.
So, and then some other things like envelopes. I guess some people are so digital they don't even use envelopes anymore. I don't fall into that. But what else? The microphone, you know, like on Siri has like an old microphone. like you would see like Johnny Carson's microphone as this old big microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And then famously, Instagram's icon is a Polaroid camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the other one that kind of stood out to me, besides the TV, whenever you see TV, it always has rabbit ears as an icon, was the carbon copy. Like everybody talks about, CC me that or whatever. And it says, the last time I made a carbon copy was using a mimeograph to do it. I don't even know what that is. So like that kind of thing, like carbon copy, where you actually take like a piece of carbon and you like rub it down, and a lot of people don't know what the hell that is. I've never done it in my life. I've just seen it on movies and stuff like that.
Oh, I've used it before.
You've used actual carbon paper?
Oh,
like Indiana Jones?
Well, I guess like carbon forms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never actually reused like the real paper.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is really interesting about this is like a lot of these icons obviously have these meanings that are still with us,
mm-hmm.
but they have like these like symbols that we never use anymore.
Right.
And it reminds me of like old sayings that we say a lot. Like you'll be like, as a general rule of thumb,
mm-hmm.
and everyone knows what that means, but it's like, where did that actually come from?
Yeah.
And it's been disconnected from its I guess colloquial meaning, and like how people have understood it to mean something.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like it can mean something totally different, and we don't even know what the relation is, but we still understand the meaning.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these are going to do that forever, right? Like,
yeah,
like the floppy disk is a save.
Mm-hmm. I think that like to begin with, when like the Macintosh was probably the first consumer computer that had icons, right? And their whole thing is creating like metaphors for what we use in our everyday life. Because at that point, people use typewriters, they use their desk, like that was a place that you had all your stuff. So they invented something called a desktop, So this is a metaphor for your actual desktop that you work on. And then they have, like the floppy disk and all this other stuff. And I think that like it's just kind of carried on from that point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. I think that they'll stay around, but I think that like, geez, next generation, current generation doesn't know what the hell like the voicemail icon is anyway.
Totally. I used to be a project manager, and I worked on icon projects. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we did is we would help Microsoft create icons for Windows Vista and all these other applications that they use, and it's a very tricky and detail-oriented business. And you can't just be a good artist to do this. You have to have a really broad understanding of not just, I'm going to make this word up, symbology, right? What kind of symbols mean what, but how they can be used together. And then you have to have a very good idea of the style that you need to be using. Like a download arrow has to look very specific when you're using it for Windows Vista, when you're using it for Office, when you're using it for probably Microsoft's online products. And I'm sure it's the same with Apple. So they have these whole like teams of artists that have these giant asset libraries, right? And they might have like floppy disks in them and download arrows in them and reel-to-reels in them and telephones in them. Mm-hmm. And then they have to combine badges and symbols together to create different styles of icons for different operating systems. But then when you have a new piece of functionality come out, which Apple's always doing, right? Mm-hmm. They have to create from scratch symbols that are intuitive to you immediately on what action you're trying to perform. And they have to do it with all the current assets that they have or create new ones. And you can get paid really well if you're good at this, by the way.
That's pretty cool.
But it's super intricate, and I don't think people realize how hard and complicated it is.
Definitely not. Because everything you have has icons. Like I just got that new car, and it has like stuff on it that like intuitively okay, that one's to pick up the call, that one's to hang up the call,
right?
Or that one's probably the voice command because it's like a person talking, that kind of stuff,
And when icons don't make sense, they're really confusing, right? If you look at a toolbar and you see an icon and it doesn't connote to you what it's trying to get you to do, you're like, what does this thing mean? Like you probably would never use it.
Yeah. And
then you have to hover over it, right? And it like has a little pop-up description.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's what that does.
Yeah.
But it was a really fun. It was out of all the technical work that I did, that was probably one of the most fun projects because you get to work with artists and you just learn a ton of stuff about symbols and colors and how all that stuff is used to communicate to people.
It's funny how the camera icon, just the camera in general, like physical cameras are everywhere in software. You know, like lenses, like aperture is a lens, iPhoto's a camera, like all this kind of stuff. And the camera form factor was only really that way because film was that way. You know, like nowadays we don't have to have a camera that's this rectangular box that goes like this. It's just that it started that way because film dictated that it had to be that way.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
And it's funny, like that's just probably one of those things that's going to keep carrying over. I watched this really good documentary about design called well, I'll get back to you, but it's really good. It has Johnny Ive in there, and he talks for a little while.
I wonder if I saw that.
It's made by the same people that did Helvetica, the documentary.
Okay,
Helvetica.
no, never mind. That's the one I saw.
Oh, right. And you didn't like it?
I couldn't watch the whole thing. It was so boring. I was just like,
I've seen that movie so many times.
I
guess it's just kind of like you can geek out on certain things and certain things you can't.
You know, the weird thing is, I love typography. I just felt like the history of Helvetica wasn't necessarily that interesting to me, but we digress.
But yeah, anyway.
I was going to make one more point about symbols that I freaking can't remember now because we started talking about typography.
You know who's doing a lot of this kind of like real world elements into the computer now is freaking Apple with Lion, like doing like their address book to look like a leather bound address book and like all this kind of stuff,
which is funny because no one owns those, right?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
You mean as far as like the actual icons go?
Yeah, or no, not the icons, but the actual interfaces that have like this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
it has like a fake torn out page.
I feel like he's talking. Just to elaborate more, so he's talking about iCal and how they changed it from having that brushed steel look to having the stylized leather look to it. I turned it off actually. Like if
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah.
Is that something you have to do and like you have to delete something? Like
no, there's an application that I downloaded that's like Lion tweaks, and you can just turn these little things on and off because
not for long.
Yeah, seriously.
Mountain lion will
this will be unallowed.
Yeah.
You must use like faux leather. I guess for me, I don't like it because I like all my windows to match.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like the leather look does it for me. It's a little too hokey. But it'd be kind of cool, I guess, if they let you change it to different things. But that's not Apple style, right? They're not going to give you 50 different options.
No, and we will get into that later with our last topic at hand.
That's true. One more thing I wanted to say about the icons, I remember what I was going to say, is I think it's really fascinating that like think of like the phone icon on the Apple, which is like an old school handset, right? That you'd hold to your ear and has the earpiece and the mouthpiece. Like there's probably a whole generation of people who have grown up without even ever seeing one of those in their houses, right? I mean, everyone has cell phones now, and I guess maybe most families have home phones.
Not really, dude.
I probably won't.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the purpose, right?
I mean, think about it, like people with maybe young kids. I doubt it. You know.
Like why would you want to have a phone,
like
a regular phone?
Yeah.
So they have like this symbol of a phone, and these kids are gonna grow up, and they're never gonna have ever used one, right? Why would you ever need to use one of those things? It's like it would probably make more sense to show a computer with a pair of headphones coming off of it and a little Skype thing on the screen, because like that's how you talk to people more now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like I talk to people more on my computer all the time.
I think arguably the cool factor is that they make better icons. Like all this physical world stuff makes better icons.
There's like a screen, and there's Skype, and there's headphones,
there's another screen,
and there's the modem behind you, so they know you're connected to Wi-Fi.
Because I mean, like now we're moving towards everything's just a plate of glass, so it's like
that's true. Everything's just gonna be an iPad icon. That's all it's gonna be, because you'll use your iPad for everything. It's like, do you need to use Twitter? Click the iPad icon. Want to make a phone call? Click the iPad. Funny. Well, let's move on.
Okay.
I read an interesting article yesterday. It was on Gizmodo by one of their writers. His name is Matt Honan.
Nobody reads Gizmodo.
I don't think so either. I saw it on an RSS feed. He's pretty popular though. And basically, to paraphrase the article, summarize it actually, he was talking about Flickr and how Flickr had all this potential. It got bought by Yahoo, and that potential was wasted.
Yeah.
And now Flickr is like this kind of like withering graveyard for people that hardly use it anymore.
Yeah.
And as I was reading it more and more, first of all, this thing freaking is so long. I was scrolling. You know, every once in a while you're like, you start reading, you're like, wait, what am I committing to? And you start scrolling down just to see how long it is. And I was scrolling for probably 2 seconds.
Dude, I'm a lazy reader. This is my method of reading, especially when I'm getting things done.
Yeah.
Magnifying glass and binoculars.
Do you do that?
At some time in the past, a magnifying
All the
glass.
That is really funny. And you let your Mac read it to you?
All the time.
But for some
Dude,
reason,
what keyboard
binoculars
shortcut is
are
that?
for
So it doesn't have an actual keyboard shortcut to do the speak to text or whatever it's called, speech to text. But I just assign it Command J because there's no Command J that I know of, so I just made it that, you know.
Really? That's so funny. I didn't know that. That's actually pretty cool.
I do it with email, and like people send these long emails and like get to the point, so I'll just highlight a paragraph and then like, oh okay,
I know.
I reply
man.
back something simple. You know?
I like long articles, but sometimes they're so long you don't want to read them. Let me get back to the top of the story though. So one of his main points was that no one uses Flickr anymore. It's kind of lost its way. And I was like, I don't necessarily agree with this. I use Flickr often, and I think Flickr is very good for certain uses, and I kind of feel like he missed the entire point of Flickr. Because he was saying, oh, well, if you want to share photos, you're going to use Facebook. If you're going to take photos, you're going to use Instagram.
Yeah.
He's like, well, who uses Flickr? And I'm like, well, I never used Flickr to share my family photos. I never used Flickr to share photos in general. Like, Flickr to me has always been about people who are photographers sharing photos that they've taken, but also being able to browse different groups that are very, like, photographically specific. Like, I often do this when I want to buy a new lens. I'll be like, I'll find a Flickr group that just uses that lens that I like.
Yeah.
And that camera that I like, and I look at the pictures all the time, and I'm like, ooh, let's see what people have been able to do with this lens before I spend $1,500, right?
Right.
And if I like what I see, it kind of nudges me towards buying that lens.
Right. And that's totally not the behavior of either one of those.
No,
other
you can
sites.
never do that. Like Flickr is so much more than just sharing pictures.
It's and you're right. He did miss the point. Just, I mean, how you paraphrase it, because. I mean, I have a Flickr account, and I got one right around the time that I started Throwaway, so about 2008. And, I mean, there's just certain reasons for me wanting to have all of my pictures, like all of the different events that I've done, or like any sort of documentation that I've done. I don't really know where else that could live. You know, like if it's in Facebook, like it's not accessible. It's not as accessible. A lot of, like everyone has a Facebook account, but still it's just like, but to get to those albums, it's not as open, you know? Like you can't easily do a public link to a lot of things in Facebook. It's a little bit more tied down. I want to be able to have like all of my photos just like, oh, I'm going to go to VidCon in the month, and I'm going to take a whole bunch of pictures and I'm going to dump them onto Flickr. And then I'm going to write a blog about it, and I'm going to link to all those pictures, all those assets that are there. And for me, it's one of the way better ways to do that. It does it at a higher quality than Facebook. It tells you all of the, the tags and everything like that. You can't do that with Facebook.
Right.
Instagram is still in its infancy, and it's also mobile.
And it's not meant for sharing galleries of photos.
Exactly, yeah. And
I mean, it's just for one at a time that you've put a creative filter on.
Yeah, it's like I would much rather, put a bunch of pictures on Flickr and then create an HTML style blog where I'm posting in actual like hyperlinks and everything like that, rather than, doing a simplified blog post on Tumblr and then being like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna add a couple pictures, and then it has to do them in their own like kind of weird, what do they call that, lightbox way and kind of stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know, I just like having everything in one place. Plus, I mean, think of all the pictures that everybody uses Google Images all the time. Like, think of how many pictures are actually pulled from Flickr from that.
Oh, do they use a lot of them?
Don't they? I mean,
I have no idea.
I would think that they would, but I'm not sure. I think that's true.
Yeah, my guess is that if you tag them well enough, they would all come up.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's not like it's. I guess at one point during the early Web 2.0, I keep doing this, Web 2.0, it was more social. And I don't think it's as social, but I don't really think that it doesn't really need to be, you know?
I think that's true. It's not a hot property anymore. Like, there's a website I go to called 500px, 500px. And at first, I actually thought that you had to post pictures that were a certain format, like maybe square or something. But I recently learned it's just like Flickr, except it has a much more vibrant community, and people vote on each other's pictures. And pictures that get voted up get seen more. And I think that's a really cool dynamic. And it is more than anything else that I've seen is kind of a competitor to Flickr because it allows you to, you know, share pictures and get feedback and that kind of thing. But even that site, I don't think it lets you have like these big galleries like Flickr does. Like I have not seen a better version of Flickr on the web. For sharing big groups of photos, organizing those photos into groups and then into sets.
And having tags for all of them.
And
the copyright stuff.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things Flickr also really does, as I alluded to earlier, is the metadata side.
Yeah.
Where you can look through a photo's metadata and see, you know, the GPS coordinates, the processing software that was used on the photo.
Yeah.
The focal distance, the aperture, the shutter speed. There's so many things that you can do on Flickr that most people probably don't know about. It's not just a site for sharing photos. Like,
so you use them mainly for your photography, and that's it?
Yeah, I use it mainly for my photography.
Do you do anything for your company on there or not?
For Mite Tees?
Yeah.
Not really. You know, hearing how you use it is actually really interesting because I've never thought to use it that way. Normally, when I want to post a gallery, I almost always do that through our Facebook page. And if I used our blog more, I would probably do the Flickr thing because that's a really good idea. But for me, I'm like, well, rather than trying to make my audience go to my photos, I'm going to bring my photos to my audience, and that's on Facebook.
I do both, but I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just like old mentality. I just feel like giving a Flickr link is so much more open to the public perception. Like, you give somebody a Flickr link and they can just start browsing around the whole thing. They don't have to sign in. They don't have to like your page for certain things to see certain things. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's a lot more open.
That's a good point. I have never really thought about it that way. For me, I was always like, oh, well, send them to my page, and if they like what they see, they'll like it.
Yeah.
But in that regard, it's like they don't get to see all the photos that I've posted easily.
Yeah.
Because there's so much other stuff happening on a Flickr page or on a Facebook page.
Right, yeah, it's not just photos.
Yeah, it's not just the photos, and it's like there's other galleries there that may have nothing to do with what they're trying to see.
Plus, you made a point earlier, or I think it was a few shows ago, that they crop your thing in the timeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was one of the things I hate the most. I hate the new Facebook. Yeah. I really hate it. And I hate their new apps too, but that's a different show.
But see, that's another reason why it's like you want to create your own place where all your content lives. Like, Flickr is like a depository for me for just my pictures, and then my content lives on my blog. You know? Yeah. Rather than like I have to rely on Facebook, and then all of a sudden Facebook screws me over and makes their stuff suck. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Flickr is always going to be photo friendly, and I thought that was true about Facebook, but Facebook has since changed their philosophy. Right. And you know, Flickr has languished for a while. They've needed to do a lot of updates and design changes, and I don't know what's going on with Yahoo. Probably because Yahoo's on the verge of going out of business, I think, because Yahoo sucks. What does Yahoo even do anymore? It's kind of a joke in the IT culture, right? So I honestly hope they sell Flickr and someone else takes it over. Give it to Kevin Rose. He likes startups. Google.
He needs a safe job.
Yeah, he needs a safe job. But they have made some updates recently that I've really liked. They've changed their upload process, which is really cool. I really like the changes they've made. They've changed their gallery layouts, which is cool. And one of the biggest things that they've done that I really like is they have this new fluid layout. So before Flickr images would always display at 640 images or 640 pixels across, whether that's lengthwise or horizontally. And now they have a fluid layout, so like the more you increase your screen size, the picture grows or shrinks with it. Oh, that's cool. And that's awesome because I am a huge fan of big photos on websites. Yeah. I want to show my work as largely as possible because I feel like that always makes the biggest impact. So I love that they're actually starting to give it some more attention and build in some cool features. Dude, they've been neglecting that website forever.
Oh yeah, I mean just
for far too long.
The overall look of it has been this way since what 2007 or maybe before.
Has
that.
it been that long?
Yeah, because
Wow.
I remember I have a whole bunch of bookmarks of sites that I used to admire and like be like, oh, I really want to try to do stuff like that website, or like I really like this design. And Flickr's been there forever, and I'm like, they have not changed it. It's been this constant thing of like the
All
same.
they added was by Yahoo.
Yeah, by Yahoo. Yeah, and I wasn't a Flickr user before the Yahoo buy, but like, I don't know. I know that it's like the internet. It's like you never know, how long one thing's gonna last. You could put all your stuff on one site and then all of a sudden it goes away. And a lot of people are moving to ones that they think are more stable, like or gonna be around longer, like Google Plus or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I like having my stuff in one place. I don't really think that. I think they have so much room for improvement because I think that it's like.
Do you have a pro account?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You don't have a pro account?
I did. I had one
How do you
for
even do anything?
for Mighties, and then I let it die.
I didn't mean to like sound weird. I just really don't
No,
understand how you
I
could do
honestly
anything.
thought about getting a pro account again because
Uh-huh.
it's only $25 a year. But I'm always like, what am I gonna use it for?
I just write it off. Like,
Yeah, it's true. I probably do that.
But yeah, I don't know. I also cross post from Instagram to Flickr too.
Oh, okay.
So
And do you feel like you get a lot of traffic on your Flickr account?
like
Kinda, sorta?
let's see. I'm looking at
Because let's be honest,
Yesterday-
Flickr's not cool with the kids.
so far today 16 views.
Ugh,
Yesterday
16.
18. The
Dude,
day
you're gonna
before,
crash their servers. You
16.
better lighten up.
57 on May 12th or 81 on May 6th. Like it just goes up and down. Like my Twitter client used to automatically post photos to Flickr, so that was cool. So I could get actual statistics rather than it being like a Tico link to Twitter's pictures or being TwitPic where it just goes into the abyss.
Right.
I don't know where any of those pictures are now. All the TwitPic pictures, right?
They're probably still there.
And there's probably a lot of ones that were something that I actually care to have. So, but now that Twitter client doesn't do Flickr integration anymore, so I just do Instagram instead. But you see what I mean? It's like we're moving away from different ones. Like, oh, remember TwitPic was like my one of choice, and now it's Instagram, and Flickr's always been constant. So I've just been cross-posting to there instead.
I feel like that's the way of the internet, right? Like you get a hot property that everyone moves to.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder what's going to happen with Facebook in the next 10 years. Like,
Dude, what do you think about this IPO?
I mean, I think they're going to make a bunch of money.
Are you
And
gonna buy
I kinda-
any stock?
I probably won't buy any because I feel like IPOs, like by the time everyone's bought, before they allow the general public to buy, the price will already be so high. It's like
right,
I
that's
won't be
how
able
it
to get
works.
into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. That's
What?
that shirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're at Urban Outfitters now. But I bet you it's not actually the guy.
What's Uncovet?
Oh wait, never mind.
Designs. For the style. Oh, sorry. We saw an ad
Yeah.
that we clicked on, which is funny because I was just listening to an NPR article that you got here before you got here that said GM is not going to be
Yeah,
sponsoring.
I just heard that one too.
And
They're not going to be on Facebook anymore.
yeah, as an
They don't think
aside,
it's worth any
do you think Facebook ads are actually? Do you ever click on them? Actually,
We just fucking
ironically,
did.
we met through a Facebook
Yeah.
ad. That's how we met. It was just so strange.
Yeah.
But other than that, do you click on Facebook ads?
Sometimes, I mean, they have to be relevant. I can't say I've never ever clicked on them because I think that maybe on average I'll click on 2 every couple months.
That's about I'd say that's about right. Maybe one a month, one a couple months for me.
Because they have to be something cool, but like I don't know. It's not like you learn or discover cool stuff very often from Facebook.
No.
Do you think that Google AdSense or AdWords, not AdSense, AdWords is a better way to get people to look at your stuff rather than Facebook?
I don't have enough experience with Google
Either one.
AdWords to say. I would say probably Facebook would be better because they know so much more about you.
Yeah.
That they can really target ads to you.
But like if somebody was looking up like geek T-shirts and you came up in the search results, don't you think that's better than just targeting people that are work at Microsoft or whatever?
I think that really
or
is.
that say they like geeky stuff. Like there's so many people that don't fill that out.
Yeah, that's true.
My
I feel like
activity
that's
says
true.
wine. like because I put in that I liked wine.
Well, I think that Facebook has smartened up, and now they're reading every status post that you look at and write to figure out what you actually like, rather than relying upon your activities section, which mine is still unfilled out too. But yeah, Google's I think Google's different because you're searching for it, right? It's like
I think you. I don't know. It's like which one are you more open with? Like which one are you gonna like put whatever the hell's on your mind into, you know? Because Google, a lot of people will search stuff up and down the street of like anything that comes to mind, right?
clown,
like, the things
penis,
the
fart.
thing that they wouldn't even tell like their best friend. They're like Googling it, you know?
That's true. Google probably knows a lot of sick stuff about us, especially about you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of been of the mindset that advertising just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started, I spent some money on advertising, which was a mistake.
Dude, advertising works.
I think advertising can
It's
work.
a whole multi-billion-dollar industry.
No, that's true, but I think the reason that it will always be around and it'll always be a multi-billion-dollar industry is because because like if it goes away, then there's gonna be it's gonna work again, right? Like if there was no advertising, then advertising would work great, right? If you never saw a billboard, then when you did see one, you'd be like, whoa, what is this thing that I'm seeing? But the reason that you don't care is because we're bombarded with it all the time. And people, especially new business people, are like, "Oh, I'm just going to advertise, and that will get me customers." It's like, no.
I think it's already gone away of like from the whole like you just have like good instincts and good marketing chops and stuff. It's just numbers, dude. Now it's just like, well, people know how to target you. You're giving up all your information on all your social networks. Like all that stuff is like algorithms and numbers. Like I was watching this thing about, I think it was about Facebook or BBC. And it was like some ad agency where they were just like tons of people in a room, like cubicles, and they were all just doing the whole ad thing, like for all these different companies. And it wasn't about like we have a cool photo or like a cool whatever. It's like, oh, if you change that to be blue, then you'll get more clicks than it was if it was red, you know?
And there are people who, I mean...
And they have data now. It's not just like, you know, it's not just instincts and whatnot.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. Like there's people who really get like excited about reading metrics, and some of the people I follow on Twitter, one of the guys has this product that like will show you your web page with a heat map over it showing where people are like moving their cursor and stuff. I'm like, jeez, like I think that's great for UI stuff, like for Apple to make their website more efficient. I think that's good, but it's like you're not gonna building a technical website that's that specific just to sell a pillow or a graphic t-shirt. It's like, doesn't make any sense to me, right?
Yeah.
I think you should be more focused on making your product really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree, but like if somebody was going to step into your company and you already had cool products and they were going to be like, I'm going to be your guy that's going to do that, wouldn't you be like,
yeah,
cool?
I'd be psyched. Yeah.
like you don't have to freaking do it, you know?
Yeah, I'd dry hump his leg a couple times.
Saying.
But yeah, I'm definitely not into that stuff, man. That stuff just bores me to death. I'm just like, oh, I don't even think about this.
Me too. And I like marketing and I like advertising and I just like all that kind of stuff, but none of that. None of the math.
Freaking database stuff.
But anyway, we're off on.
Hey, yeah, let's wrap up. We're gonna talk about one more thing.
Yeah.
Roberto did a cron job on his computer.
Yeah, I'm like a real hacker.
Yeah,
I'm
you're such a waz, dude. So tell us what you did first of all.
Okay, so I got this MacBook Pro a few weeks back, and I had an SSD as my default. So
right.
I put in an SSD. Those things are not cheap, so I got the 128 gigabyte one, right? And that one was like I think another $99, so it wasn't that bad, right? And so what I recently did after hearing about this from everybody is you can take your optical drive out and
right.
you can put in another hard disk. A lot of people do it the reverse way. A lot of people have a hard disk and they want to get an SSD and they want to, say boot from the SSD and have this other one for storage. So yeah, I had this extra 500 gig SATA drive, and I did the mod on it, and it was not really that hard. I got it from OWC, Other World Computing, and it's called the OWC Data Doubler. Obviously, I can't really show it to you, but yeah, it's in here. So
how hard was it to like take it off or take out the optical drive and install it? Like, how long did it take you?
probably like 20 minutes.
That's it?
Yeah, it was really simple. Like, okay, so this is what I did. I like doing this kind of open up stuff. Like, I've always liked taking things apart, so it was really fun. But like, basically, when you go onto their website, they have tutorial videos, right?
Right.
And the TV box that I was showing you the other day, what I did was just went onto YouTube through the TV box and booted up that video. So I would basically watch that video, watch a piece of that video, pause it, and then do it, and then watch a little piece,
nice.
pause it, and then do it, right?
That's cool.
And it has a really nice color instruction manual. Everything was really nice. All the tools were laid out perfectly.
So it came with the tools you needed and everything?
The screws, the extra screws that you needed were in their own baggies, so you're not getting all confused of which baggies.
Wow.
They were very, very well laid out. And yeah, so it's pretty simple. Like, as far as opening it up, your MacBook Pro has, like, I don't know, what is this? Like, I think it's like 13 screws on the back, 12 screws on the back. Open that up. You take this part off, and then there's the optical drive that's tied down with a few more screws.
Oh, so it's just sitting right there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because most of this computer is a huge freaking battery. Your SATA drive, your logic board, which is really small too, or sorry, your SSD drive, your logic board is pretty small, and then I think a lot of people have mentioned, the optical drive is this big honking thing that doesn't do anything for most people, right?
Right.
And a lot of people never ever use it. So this data doubler is not a hard drive, but it comes with this little chassis thing that's like this metal piece.
Right.
And it's the same size as a optical drive. So after you take out your optical drive, you put this thing in, and it comes with the screws for that, and you screw it in. And then, actually, you put a hard drive in there first, then you screw it in. And then it's another bus, so you just hook it up to that same...
plug it in where the CD or
where
the
the
DVD
CD drive
is plugged in?
Yeah, because it comes with its own little connector for that. And no, it wasn't really hard. Like, I just, went really slow and did it, and I was left over with a whole bunch of parts now.
And now my Mac doesn't boot.
It makes this clicking sound sometimes.
And smoke comes out.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then now I have this 500 gig drive that I use just for storage. So, I edit the show on it, and I can leave all the files on there, and I can use the other one for booting. And I had the hard drive in here actually had an old, I think it was Snow Leopard on it. And I booted into that, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is slow," compared to having the SSD drive in here for months. And I'm like, "Oh wow, this is such a difference." Just having like the fast drive, and then the storage is slow, and even the I/O is faster because of it being able to write to that drive faster.
Right.
So it's so much nicer, and like I think you've talked about this often because you think Apple.
I have been saying this for 2 years. I'm like, Apple needs to get rid of these DVD drives.
Yeah.
And give you the option to ship your computer with a solid state and a backup hard drive, right? Yeah. Because it wouldn't really be that much more expensive. You're getting rid of this crappy DVD drive that no one ever uses, and I don't really care about. Yeah. And I've always wanted to install an SSD in this and get rid of my DVD drive, but it annoys me of having this slot here that you're not going to use anymore. That really annoys me.
It doesn't do anything.
I know it doesn't do anything, but you're going to get some person trying to stick their disc in there.
Oh no, do you want to see what happens?
Well, nothing, because there's nothing in there, right?
Well, no, here, I'll show you. Do you have anything? Do you have a disc?
Yeah, I got a disc. Well, is it going to scratch it?
No, I'll show you. Yeah, but dude, they're never going to do that.
Dude, I think the next MacBook Pro.
Dude, they ship a 64 gig iPad. Like they're going away from they're saying the cloud is the future and the cloud is unlimited, and we're gonna have these devices that have it's just storage is like irrelevant. They're not catering to having like.
Oh, so you think they'll ship with an SSD?
And that's it.
No. I think you're wrong.
And a huge fucking battery.
No.
Okay, look. By the way, this is what it's gonna do.
It's gonna stop it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Here. I'm calling it right now. Let me tell you what Apple's next computer is going to be. It's going to be a MacBook Pro, quite possibly with a Retina display.
Pro Air.
It's going to be a Pro Air, right?
Air Pro, sorry.
So they're going to get away from the DVD drive. Gone, right? Those are gone. They're dead. They're going to not be putting them in any of their computers. If you want one of those, I'm sure you'll be able to buy one separately.
Yeah.
You're going to have the option for, you're going to get the SSD, and they'll probably give you the option of a single hard drive too. And then you'll have a second option to put an SSD or a hard drive in there as well. And here's my reasoning for the MacBook Pro, because the MacBook Air is not a production machine. It's a lightweight computing machine, right? It's not meant for editing photos. It's not meant for editing video. And for those of us that do those types of things, we need to have storage space.
Right.
You cannot edit a video with a 120 gigabyte hard drive or SSD. There's just no way. You're going to fill it up. You can fill it up in one job and be done.
But dude, yes or no, is Apple going away from the Pro market?
I'm saying somewhat.
True or
somewhat.
what you want it to
somewhat.
be?
I'm saying somewhat. I used to think that I used to think that was happening because
Uh-huh.
of what they were doing with Final Cut.
Uh-huh.
But now I think maybe that's not so true, because I read some stuff about Apple engineers working on Final Cut, and they're like, people think we're moving away from the pro market. We're not.
Yeah.
We're building back all those features that people wanted. I honestly think they had to ship, and when they shipped, they were like, they just didn't have all these things ready.
Mm-hmm.
All the pro features that people wanted in Final Cut Pro X.
I mean, I'm not an editor. I edit the show, which is like the easiest thing in the world. But like,
Yeah.
I love Final Cut Pro X.
I do too. And I think it has a lot of potential.
But
let me make one last point about why Apple's going to have the 2 hard drive options, because as you said earlier, when you're loading stuff, you load it off the slower drive. Having 2 drives speeds up dramatically your loading time for Photoshop, for video editing, because now instead of your disk, your primary disk, having to do 2 different things that may be data intensive, like, you know, finding a photo and then also making changes to the file at the same time, so it's trying to write at the same time, you have it drawing from a source that's totally separate. So now you get almost twice the speed, right? Because one drive is responsible for one thing, the other drive is responsible for another thing, and that makes your speeds a lot faster, especially in Photoshop. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see it, man. I think in June at WWDC, we're going to see a brand new MacBook Pro.
I don't know. I understand why you want it. I have it. That's why I understand it.
Yeah.
You know, I understand why it's awesome, but it just doesn't seem like it's the Apple way to go. Like, I mean, they haven't been like that ever in laptops. They have never been Frankenstein-y, hacky ever in laptops. They've gotten rid of ports on laptops that people use. You know what I mean? Like, they've never been that way on laptops. It's actually kind of weird that they even have a freaking SD card on a laptop, in my opinion, because I feel like they haven't been catering to Pro market for a while. And then the last computers that you could really get your hands dirty in they're like the fucking Mac Pros, and nobody ever buys those, you know? Like,
oh man, those are so old now.
So it's just like that's why I think that having a double disk drive is just so like it's so not Apple to me. It's like they want to get everything simplified. They want to move everyone to the cloud. They want to get ahead of the curve because they think that that's the way of the future, and maybe it will be. Maybe we'll just be laughing like, why did we have huge hard drives in our computers, you know? But like
hard drives.
But I don't know.
But you say the cloud. I mean,
I don't agree that it's good.
Professionals can't use the cloud to edit. I mean, that's not a feasible use for it. I mean, that's just not something that you can do.
Oh, I totally agree. But then my main point is that I don't think they give a shit.
Gotcha. But why would it be a MacBook Pro if it doesn't have the features that Pro users need?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like,
because otherwise it's just a MacBook Air. Why would they even make it, right? It's just going to be a 15-inch MacBook Air.
They're almost the same. I mean, think about it, right? They're almost the same. Like, they have a faster processor in there. What else? They have a DVD drive in there.
They have a discrete graphics card.
Yeah.
So if you take away the DVD drive, now all of a sudden they're much more similar.
Yeah.
If you take away the hard drive, it's like, okay, well, am I going to spend a bunch of extra money for a heavier computer with a graphics card? That's the only difference.
But how, okay, maybe I'm thinking about, like, long term. How long do you think Apple's going to have, if they do this, how long are they going to do that for? It just seems so antiquated. Like, they're going to have a spinning disk drive and another drive. It just seems like an intermediate thing that they'll do for a little while, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, until SSD costs come down.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't. SSDs are so expensive, and they probably will be so expensive for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah.
That if you need the storage space, you need the storage space. I mean, I don't think that disk drives are going anywhere for a while.
Okay.
I wish they were, but dude, I was looking on Newegg.com last night. 128 gigabyte SSD is still like $200.
Yeah, no, it's really expensive.
It's so expensive. You can buy a freaking 2 gigabyte or 2 terabyte hard drive for that less than that.
I think ultimately where Apple would like to go is to be like, here's the iPad, and there's no gigs on the back, and it's just total cloud.
It's gonna be a flat piece of glass.
And it's just like there's no worrying about storage anymore. You know, like the network speeds have finally caught up to where it just feels normal to be able to do stuff off of the device.
Yeah.
Because I think that's always been like the network speeds and the storage is always the biggest hassle right now, right?
Yeah.
For devices, for computers, for everything. Right?
I think we're like 15 years away from that.
We're already fast enough. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. Like that's probably the least of our worries is like how computers used to be slow. You know, it's like now it's like the network speeds and the storage space for a lot of things.
Let me give you a real life scenario. So I recently decided I need to have an offsite backup solution because I have so many photographs now that I'm like I have them on hard drives right here, but I'm like, what happens if there's a fire here? What happens if my house gets broken into?
Yeah.
What happens if one of my backup drives fails, right? So I'm like, I need to be smart about this, and I need to have them, uploaded into the cloud to be backed up.
Yeah.
So I chose a backup provider, switched it on, and to back up just my my MacBook Pro, I haven't even started on my backup drives yet. It took me a week and a half.
Jeez, yeah.
Of constant uploading.
But once it's done, you're good, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, every time I have a new photo project, that's 20 gigs. So how long does it take to upload 20 gigs to the cloud?
Yeah.
A couple days?
Well, what's the downside of it being slow to you? Is it just is it really inconvenience you for it to just chug away like that?
It is. I mean, it is because it means at night you can't turn off your computer.
Oh.
It means that your bandwidth is always being eaten. It means that if you want to access the files, it's slow to get them back.
Mm-hmm.
It means you can't work with those files in real time as you could with a hard drive, something local.
Yeah, I do think that we're a ways away from it too. But
yeah, I mean Comcast is not gonna bend over backwards to triple your bandwidth speed for the same price that you're paying. It's like they're making a ton of profit.
Mm-hmm.
What's their motivation to make things faster?
Right.
In our area, until Verizon Fios came along, Comcast was kind of slow, and then as soon as Fios showed up, all of a sudden Comcast started doubling and tripling speeds everywhere, and then Fios decided to leave town. And now we're probably going to have the same network speeds for the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, total tangent.
No, but we'll see. We'll see, man. Here, let's do a friendly gentleman's bet.
We're gonna find out in June whether I'm right or wrong.
Definitely not gonna do that.
We're announcing the MacBook Air will be our only computer made in one size.
And we're no longer shipping Final Cut or Aperture.
We're no longer shipping Final Cut Aperture. And it only comes with Wi-Fi because now everything lives in the cloud.
Yeah. Oh man, isn't that the rumor that there's not even going to be an Ethernet port on it or something like that?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. But I hope that's not true, man.
I don't want these things to be true. I mean, I'm probably the most backwards, old school person to do computers that you probably know. I mean, like, the other day I ran into this problem, which is the weirdest thing anyone's gonna ever hear about, is like, I needed the drive because I was taking photos on an old 35mm camera, and I got those developed, and I asked them to put it on a CD. Like, how old is that, right?
Gosh.
Like, nobody does that anymore, and so that was the only reason I needed to use it. So I love this kind of stuff, and I had to go and use this old Mac that I don't even use anymore. But I don't know, I just feel like maybe I'm just disconnected from Apple. I'm like, whatever, just don't make it hurt so much. just use some lube. I don't know. Like I feel like I don't have control over it anymore.
Yeah, it's true, you don't.
You know?
I mean, Apple's going to do what Apple's going to do.
Yeah.
and the only person that has any influence is me.
Yeah.
Because I have a podcast where we talk about it.
Go listen to his podcast.
Yeah, if you are interested in hearing more of me talk about Apple stuff and going off on tangents, I have another podcast called The Cult Cast.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's a fun time.
I listen
to
it.
It's on iTunes. It's an audio podcast too. So, in any case, that's it for today, man. I'm always shocked how we're able to make a good conversation out of topics that aren't so great.
Don't sell us that hard, because like maybe nobody's listening anymore.
Mediocre conversation. Roberto, if I wanted to hear more about your company, Throwboy, and read your tweets, where would I do that?
Okay, so you can go to throwboy.com, throwboy.com/blog. Everything's there. That's where
everything you need.
And then if you want to track me down, still go there, because if you go to Twitter, it shows you my personal Twitter there too.
Oh, if I want to, I've been using Find My Friends to track you down, but you're never logged in, so I never know where you are.
So, how about you?
Yeah, if you're interested in my indie clothing brand, it's called Mightees, MIGHTTEES.com. If you want to go to the website, we're the same on Twitter, just at Mightees, and I'm at Erfon, ERFON on Twitter. And those are all the usual places.
Cool. Well, you guys can subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube.
That's right.
It's just youtube.com/userfriendlyshow, userfriendlyshow.com, and we will catch you next week.
I'm giving the double salute.